Hello, I'm Richard Gill, and welcome to Modern Web Development Toolbox by Pact Publishing. I've got a background in writing web applications, several years' experience with JavaScript, and I was a pretty early adopter of React, and especially React Native. I code with these technologies almost every day, and that's been the case for at least a couple of years. In this video, we're going to cover the course overview, so what's in the course and what we're going to be learning. In section 1, we're going to look at how you can use NPM for dependency management. So grabbing different libraries from NPM, which is the place where people store their JavaScript code, grabbing different libraries, using them on the command line as well, and that kind of allows you to set up like a build toolchain. In section 2, we're going to look at Webpack and how you can use Webpack to build your code with React mainly, but how you can use it with anything to do some of the transpolations which are really important with modern JavaScript. In section 3, we're going to look at some other front-end libraries that are pretty useful in JavaScript. If you're going to be using something like React, these are very important, but they're useful with more or less any framework. We're going to look at Lodash, we're going to look at Moment, amongst some others. In section 4, we're going to look at styling our application. I'm not really going to go into CSS in tons of detail. I'm going to look at some of the tactics you can use to kind of make CSS more manageable and make it so that you're kind of doing best practices and protecting yourself from the mess that is kind of CSS still. In section 5, we're going to look at linting and formatting our code. That's just important from a code quality perspective. We're going to look at tools such as ESLint and Prettier, and we're going to look at some CSS linting tools as well. So the target audience for this course is really developers that are looking to learn the latest modern JavaScript best practices. Also, it's good for developers that already know a little bit of React, Angular, or a similar framework, like maybe Ember.js or Vue or Cycle or something. And it's also suitable for existing developers that are looking to get into JavaScript development for the first time. The prerequisites for the course are that you need a machine that runs Mac, Linux, and Windows. Personally, I think some of the stuff we're going to be doing is a little bit easier on Mac or Linux, but you can totally do it on Windows as well, and it should just work fine. You need version 8.1.2 of Node. I cover that in the first video. If possible, you should use NVM to get your versions of Node. It just makes it much easier to switch between versions freely. In this course, you'll learn how to set up a modern JavaScript project, how to use NPM, how to use Webpack to build your code, and how to keep high code quality using linters and auto-formatters. Once you're done with this course, you'll understand how to set up a code base to work with most of the modern JavaScript frameworks like React, Angular, and all the others that you could possibly use. Really, this code's a basis. It doesn't cover going into using any of those specific libraries, but it kind of covers everything around the edge that you need to know. And that's a pretty big barrier to entry for something like, for example, like React. Really, this stuff is stuff you really need to know for React, and it can be a bit overwhelming when you try and jump into React and you don't know all of this stuff, you don't know how to build your code, because there's just so many tools in the ecosystem and they move quite quickly. And I think this course will really help people, perhaps they already know a little bit of React, but they're not quite sure what's going on and how to build their code.